Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to decode a symbolic map of the cosmos, one that's kind of hidden in plain sight within ancient scripture. We're going to explore this powerful, recurring image that acts as the ultimate boundary, the very line between our world and the divine.
So what really separates the sacred from the sinful? Where is that line? To get our heads around that, we've got to dive into a really powerful biblical symbol that acts as this profound boundary, a dividing line between two completely different realms of existence. All right, so our journey actually kicks off not up in the heavens, but right here on Earth with a very real physical object from the ancient Israelite tabernacle, which was basically their portable sanctuary while they were in the wilderness.
And that brings us to this thing, the bronze laver. It was a large basin filled with water, and its purpose was absolutely crucial. Think of it as the final mandatory stop for the priests. This is where they had to purify themselves before they could even think about approaching the sacred inner sanctum.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The material it was made from. The text tells us the laver was forged from polished bronze mirrors, which were donated by the women serving at the tabernacle. Think about that for a second. It wasn't just a basin for washing. It was a giant, reflective surface. A mirror.
So its function was this really clear four-step process. A priest would walk up, he'd see his own reflection in that polished bronze, kind of confront his own state, right? And then he'd use the water to ritually wash away any impurity. Only after that moment of reflection and cleansing, could he get into the holy space.
Now I want you to hold on to that image of the bronze mirror. Seriously, lock it in your mind. Because we're about to take a huge leap forward, centuries later, shifting our view from that dusty, earthly courtyard to this absolutely breathtaking cosmic vision from the book of Revelation.
So the Apostle John is describing a scene in the actual throne room of God. And what's sitting right there, right in front of the throne? Not an ocean, not a sea of water, but this stunning, completely still, crystalline sea.
And this is the part you really got to catch. It isn't liquid, it's a solid, transparent barrier, a sea of glass. In this heavenly vision, it's acting as this vast, perfect boundary, a calm, absolute separation between the divine throne and, everything else.
Okay, so this is where it all clicks into place and unlocks a much, much larger cosmic map. Let's put these two images, the earthy bronze basin and the heavenly crystal sea, side by side, because you're about to see how they directly mirror one another.
And here it is, the core argument just laid bare. The bronze laver is the physical, earthly symbol of an ultimate spiritual reality, the sea of glass. You see, one is kind of imperfectly reflective, made from man-made mirrors. The other is perfectly transparent, clear as crystal. One guards a holy building on earth, the other guards the very throne of God.
So yeah, this isn't just some nice poetry. The interpretation here is that the laver was designed to be a direct, symbolic counterpart. It was like a physical representation on earth of a much greater heavenly reality, a shadow of the real thing.
All right, now that we've established that crucial link between the laver and the sea, we can finally zoom out and see the full three-tiered map of all creation that this symbolism starts to reveal.
Right at the very top, you've got the angelic heaven. According to this map, this is the highest realm, the place where God dwells, the ultimate source of holiness and perfect divine order.
Next up is the boundary itself, that sea of glass we've been talking about. This is the big dividing line, and it's also identified with what the Genesis creation story calls the waters above the firmament. It separates that perfect holiness of heaven from everything that lies below it.
And finally, we have the bottom tier. Now, in this model, everything below the sea of glass is considered Hades. And that doesn't just mean some mythical underworld. Here, the term is being used for the entire created world we live in. It's seen as a realm of relative darkness and chaos, and it includes our sky, our earth, and our oceans. So here's the full map, laying it all out. Just look at how each part of the physical tabernacle acts as a symbol for a different domain in this cosmic structure. The holiest of holies mirrors the throne, the courtyard mirrors the sky, and bam, right there at that critical boundary, the bronze laver corresponds perfectly to the sea of glass. It all lines up. But this map isn't just a static drawing. Oh no, it gets way more dramatic when we see how this boundary functions in the end times narrative of Revelation. The logic is exactly the same, right? A priest had to wash at the laver to be considered clean enough to enter the holy place. Well, according to this interpretation, that same principle applies on a massive cosmic scale. Those with sin, they just can't pass through this ultimate spiritual barrier into God's presence.
But then, the vision shifts. John sees the same sea of glass, only now it's mixed with fire. And standing on the far side of it, he sees people who have been victorious. They've made it across the boundary. And this fire, this is a crucial detail for what's about to happen.
So what's with the fire? Well, it's not random. It's seen as a reflection of all the turmoil and judgment that's happening in the realm of Hades down below it. The sea becomes this definitive line of separation. Those who are victorious, the martyrs, the redeemed, they're brought up and across it, while this fiery judgment is basically being prepped for the world underneath.
And that right there is the trigger. It's the point of no return. The moment the victorious ones cross that boundary, once they're safely on the heavenly side of that fiery sea, a final judgment, what's described as 7 plagues, is poured out on the entire realm of Hades that's been left behind.
Which brings us to our final big question. Our whole journey started with an earthly mirror, and it ended at a cosmic one. This suggests that the sea of glass isn't just some passive barrier. Like the laver, it's a reflective surface. It shows the perfect order of heaven above and maybe the chaos of the world below. It really poses a question not just for the cosmos, but for us, right? If this is the ultimate standard, what does it reflect back about ourselves?